I thought a really long time about whether I should make this video or not, but I decided let's spill all the sauce and show you how simple it is to make beautiful pain melodies like on Lil Durk's Deep Thoughts album. In today's video, I'm going to break down how easy it is to make beats in that typical pain style. Before we hop into the video, let me know in the comments which is your favorite song from the album. Mine is probably Vanish Mode or 1000 Times. And now without any further talk, let's hop right into the video. Around half of the songs on this project use a piano as the bass instrument for the melody. I wanted to go for the 1000 Times vibe on this melody since it's one of my favorite songs from the project, and I also think it's that typical street pain vibe.
My heart was pounding, as crazy as it sounded. Nigga, I used to fuck with in the hood, let me drown it.
So I open up Keyscape, and usually what I do is just pick one of the presets first and then lay down the melody, and later on I'll switch it to what I feel fits the best. In this case, I decided to go with the studio preset, but honestly I could have went with a lot of the presets. First of all, let's lay down the chords. I laid down a 6-7-1 progression, which is a typical pain progression, but you can go with a lot of different progressions here. 1-7-6 for example, also a typical pain progression. You can hear it on The Voice by Lil Durk. And you can also vary the rhythm you want to play those chords. As I said before, I aim for a vibe like on 1000 Times, so I went with a similar rhythm. Once you got your chords laid down, the next step is to add some notes here and there to create a more melodic feel, and don't make the chorus sound boring. Don't overcomplicate that part, you can get a little bit more creative in the next step, but before I will show you why, make sure that your velocities are randomized so you give your piano a more natural feel. And to add a little bit more room, I've also added a reverb. So the second step is to add the top keys. I like to have the top keys as a second instance, since once you arrange the loop, you can separate the top keys and the chords, so the person that uses your loop can decide whether he wants to use both parts at the same time or if he want to have sections where just the chords are played. And for those top key melodies, there are two important things to keep an eye on. First of all, lay down something that goes well with your chords. If you overdo it and overcomplicate it too much and it doesn't sound well with the chords together, then you can have the best, most creative top key melody. If it doesn't sound good with the chords, it's useless. And the second thing is to use typical melody sequences. So what are those typical melody sequences? One is the 3-2-7. So you've got that section where you have no half step in between the third and the second note in every minor scale. And if you drop down to the 7, which is one note below your root note, you create that super emotional feel. You can hear that in a shit ton of pain melodies. And as you can see, I used it twice in my top key melody as well. Another thing that works really well are those runs right at the end of a chord, where you go up in the scale and then you have one of those flicks where you would touch a note on the piano just a little bit and then switch right to the next one. If you do it right at the end of the first 4 bars, it helps a lot with building up the tension. So here's what the top keys sound like with the chords. In probably every pain melody you can hear some sort of bass, and that's why the third component that I've added is a bass. So a bass guitar, you've got tons of options. I've always mentioned that in my videos before. The obvious ones are the contact basses like the Scarpy, Rico, I don't know the name since I don't have it. I'm always going with the Ample Bass P-Lite. It's a great bass and it's free to download. So if you need a bass guitar, I can recommend the Ample Bass P-Lite too. When it comes to these basses, you not only want to follow the root notes like you would do with a normal synth bass, you want to let the bass play its own melody. The best way to do that, in my opinion, is before you transition into another root note, just add a couple notes to create some bounce. And that's also what I did. Layers are a big part of pain melodies. I think the most common layer is the pillowy pad piano. So just copy and paste your chords, put it into a smooth pad sound, a smooth key sound, or a Rhodes, and you are good to go. Just make sure to cut out the lows and add a little bit of reverb as well to make it stand in the background. All the basic stuff is done now. It's time to spice everything up. Our bass is pretty emotional. We need some more soulful elements now. A great way to do that is to use some organs. There's really no secret technique to creating these organ runs, but if I would need to break it down to one advice, it's to add these short notes here and there, since that adds the soul kind of touch to it. A great preset that you can use is the basic gospel preset from Contact. So to spice it up a little bit, I've also added a reverb. So what you can hear a lot on the Lil Durk project are guitars.
Go in my drawer when I be sleep, that hoe be sneaking money. I bonded. My heart was pounding, it's crazy as.
Since I'm a little bit lazy sometimes, I went into the Lonely Cloud kit and got one of these jazz guitar phrases that just fits perfectly to the composition. If you want to get a bunch of guitar phrases that are perfect for creating pain melodies like that, you can check out the first link in the video description. I will leave a link to the Lonely Cloud kit. Since I've also launched a new site, I'm running a huge sale with 50% off on all kits, which means you can get the Lonely Cloud kit for about 10 bucks, which is honestly crazy. Just use launch50 at checkout. And here's the cool thing about those phrases. You can not only drag and drop them, they also help with developing an idea. So I open up another instance of Contact and use the Electric Sunburst Deluxe with the Clean Blue preset and added a guitar melody on top of that to give it that soulful character and make it more realistic, like you would bend on a guitar string. I've used my MIDI keyboard. While I'm playing the notes, I'm turning the pitch wheel up and down. And to make that guitar sound a little bit better, I've added a reverb and I've also boosted the highs a little bit. Those are pretty much all the melodic components you need. Now it's just time to add a couple ear candy sounds and accents here and there. So first of all, I've opened up Arcade to throw in a vocal. Now I don't have to tell you about vocals, right? Vocals just go well with pain beats. So I either like to use Arcade, go on Splice, or look for a sound kit which has like cool vocals in it. In this melody, I've used an Arcade vocal, which is the Sanction preset. And for the effects, I've added a reverb again, actually a lot of reverb, and a delay. To add the finishing touches, I went into the Lonely Cloud kit again, grabbed a couple of the accent sounds and just threw them in. And that is everything you need to make a beautiful pain melody. Before I will break down the drums, let's listen to the final loop. Hey, and by the way, if you don't want to miss any new videos, make sure to subscribe real quick. So first thing you want to add for the drums are the hi-hats and the snare. I'm usually a little bit lazy with the hi-hats too, so I just throw in a hi-hat MIDI from one of my drum kits. And by the way, pretty much all the drum sounds that I'm using are from the Lonely Cloud kit as well. In pain beats, you want your drums to smack, but you don't need to overcomplicate it. So next we've got the 808 paired with a kick. Just follow the root notes, simple bounce, one roll, that's it. And then if you want to, you can layer your 808 with a kick. So since you always want to go a little bit more simpler with the drums on those beats, all you gotta do is add a switch up in the second half to make it a little bit less predictable. When you got a complex melody like that, you always want to keep the drums simple, but you don't want them to sound too repetitive and too predictable. So all I did was add in one extra note right here, one extra note here, and that little roll right there. Here's the end of the first 3 bars with the melody. I mean, it sounds cool. But in the second half, you don't want it to sound the exact same so the listener thinks he's stuck in that loop. So we've got the little switch up. And I've also did the same for the accent snare. So we've got that basic filler notes, which are those right here. And then you can see we've got the roll at the end. But instead of keeping it the exact same, made that roll a little bit longer and added one extra note right here. So you think that, okay, that's not magic, but honestly it is. So you can go with a simple drum bounce and make it interesting by switching up little parts here and there, adding something to it, but not overdoing it or taking something out. So let's listen what the final beat sounds like now. And as a quick reminder, almost every drum sound that I've used and the melody accents are out of the Lonely Cloud kit. Only for the next 2 days you can get it with a 50% discount, which is 10 bucks, which is crazy. You've got the drum kit, you've got the sound kit, and you've got 35 placement ready pain loops like that one you've just heard. All composed by myself, all solo loops. So if you want to check out the kit, check the first link in the description. And if you want to get some free loops, you can also check out my Discord server, which is also linked in the description. And if you don't want to wait until I'm dropping my next tutorial, you can also check out this video where I will show you more techniques to make beautiful pain melodies.